In this video, we'll look at the idea of push and pull motivation theories and how you can use them to stay motivated. Hi everyone, it's Matt here from Greatness Everyday, and with this video, I want to talk about a really interesting concept of push and pull motivation theory, which is something that was recently introduced to me a few months ago, and it really made a lot of sense. But before I do, if you're interested in just living your greatest life possible and you want to know some tips and tricks and some hacks, maybe even some technology to do that, I'd really encourage you to go down and click the subscribe button and tap the bell so that you get a notification when a new video comes out. Me personally, I've really enjoyed growing the Greatness Everyday community just over a year now, and I'm excited to see it continue growing in quality and quantity, and most important, the community that we're at. So I do my best to go ahead and answer any questions or comments that you put down in the comment section of the videos. So I'd really appreciate it if you keep doing that, and thanks for being here. The push and pull motivation theories is obviously the main part of this video, and what I really want to talk about is going through and kind of defining and explaining what each one is, giving you some examples from my life, and then giving you a challenge at the end of the video to really identify where these things fall in your life. So let's get started by talking about the push motivation theory, and essentially what that says is that basically if you are here right now, you are trying to move away, you're being pushed away, you're moving away, you're separating from a goal, from something, your current situation, you're moving away. Typically people say that what's associated with that push is generally a pain. There's a lot of research around that saying that typically you're going to be moving or being pushed away from a pain. And I have to say that, yeah, that might be true in some cases, but it might not be true in all cases. Maybe you're trying to avoid something for various reasons, or maybe at the same time you're looking forward to whatever your goal is, but you're really maybe not liking the results or potential results that you could obtain, and you're being pushed to obtain a higher one. So that's a little bit about the push motivation theory. And if we talk about the pull motivation theory, this is where you're being drawn towards something. So if we talk about the idea of a running race, the push motivation here would be the people behind you. Let's say you're in first place and you've got 100 meters left after a big run, and you've got people behind you chasing you down, running you down, wanting to win that prize. Let's say you're being pushed from those people behind you, but the pull motivation would be, who cares about who's behind you? Your eye is finishing. Your eye is on finishing as fast as you possibly can, regardless of the distractions. And I really like the pull motivation. And if I want to talk about a few examples, I kind of think about this as a kid that is being fed or eating, okay? So as a young kid, obviously, we get set up in a high chair or a chair of some sort, and our parents or family feeds us. And my friends have a little guy right now, and I just watch kind of how he eats, and it's quite interesting to see, because if, let's talk about push motivation for a second. If there's food that he doesn't like coming towards him on the spoon, what's going to happen? He's going to do the best he can to move away from that and pull away from the actual food that he doesn't want to eat. But at the same time, if there's food that he really, really likes, I mean, his eyes get big, his mouth opens up, and he gets pulled in towards the food. So that's kind of a fun example that I can illustrate these two things between push and pull motivation. And if I look at in my own life, maybe we could say that push motivation, a really good example of that, and you can relate to this too, I'm sure, might be studying for a test. Let's talk about high school for a second. You might be using push motivation to get good grades, right? Maybe you're scared of what would happen if you failed, or you're scared what your parents would say if you got a 60 or a 70 on that test. You didn't score high enough, and you're being pushed away from maybe the grounding that your parents would give you, or something like that, or just the bad mark. So with that's a quick example. At the same time, you could be pulled. And let's talk about my story here with Greatness Everyday, because I've talked a little bit about this before. Is when I created Greatness Everyday, I didn't really know why I was doing it. And I've said this in some of my videos before, you might have picked up on that. I said I just felt like I should. I felt like a deeper pull. I felt a deeper sense of purpose or intention behind it. And I felt like I needed to create this. So that's why we find ourselves here, actually talking about a video on push and pull motivation theory before I even knew that it existed. Consciously, at least, right? So that's really cool for me to say. I've seen those examples in my own personal life. And what I want to leave you with right now is I want to say that there might not necessarily be a right or a wrong type of motivation. I think that both serve themselves, right? If there's push motivation or pull motivation, maybe in seasons or in different situations, we can be motivated differently, and that's perfectly fine. If I'm thinking about me personally, I would obviously want to be so focused on a goal, so motivated by a goal or something that I'm doing, that pulling, it would just seem so much more natural. So I would personally, if I could pick and choose, I would choose to be pull motivated because I really believe that it's maybe a lot more intrinsic than push motivation would be. So that's just a little bit about my theories, but I'd have to say that both can be useful and both can be very good in motivating you. So my challenge to you right now is to think about, can you identify those goals that you have, those things that you have to do that maybe fall into the push motivation theory category, and those ones that might fall into the pull motivation theory category. And then I'm just going to get you to be conscious about that, because I think that once we're conscious and we recognize those things, there's a lot of power in that. So go ahead and let me know down in the comments below where you think most of your motivation comes from, and I'd love to start that conversation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.